Sheena Ringo, we continue our track by track listen through to the Shoso Strip album with track number 3, which is called Benkai Debussy, which is Excuse Debussy. Look, I'm really interested to see what we get next because Sheena Ringo so far has been, well, really serving up some great, inspiring music. The first album, as you guys know, I really enjoyed that. I was impressed how much I enjoyed that, even though I knew it had the reputation, maybe despite the reputation, because you always think, oh, reputation's going to make it sound better than it really is. But no, it was fantastic. So far, this album, I've got to be honest, I'm loving some of the creative decisions. I do think it started off on a slightly wonky foot in regards to some of the production. Not wild about the production hugely, and yet at the same time, I'm loving the creativity. I think creativity-wise, it's super inspiring. Whether it's all landing, I guess we need a few more tracks to decide. But anyway, Benkai Debussy is the one that we will be checking out now. I'm just excited to see where this goes. And yes, I am aware the songs kind of lead into each other, so I did listen to the last song directly before recording this one. Don't worry. Let's jump in, give it a little listen. Benkai Debussy from Sheena Ringo. Cool start, okay. She really likes this kind of old school 70s blues rock kind of groove. And she is very good. Love how the drums and bass are punching through. Loving that drop style. Yeah, just the groove on this one is really strong. Just like heavy-handed modulation, and yeah, it works really well. Eerie sense in it. That dual voice is really cool as well. I just noticed that there's two singing voices here. It's another song that ends with that, you know, sort of the what's it called, the pitch shifter thing going down there. That's the third song in a row which has ended like that. So I'm intrigued by the fact that this is the common thing. There's a lot of playing around with digital effects on this one. But first things first, let's just talk about this song. I mean, ultimately, what do we review songs for? We review songs to talk about how effective they were, how much they achieved their goal. And then you try and break down the reasons why. With this, if we're just talking about how effective it was, yeah, this is a song that immediately punches through. It's super engaging straight away. I like the fact that the song doesn't make any bones about the fact that it's all centered around the drums and the bass primarily. You know, the bass is very prominent, it's given a lot of room in the mix. You know, when it comes up to the chorus, it moves up very high, it riffs a lot in the verses, and then the drums are allowed to cut through that snare sound. It's got this nice tinny kind of almost hollow feeling, which really gives it just this really noticeable punch when you hear it. In a way, it's the fact that the snare actually sounds like the least affected thing in the whole song. It's like the one thing that has no effect on it almost. It just really sort of punches through everything. I mean, obviously the bass is kind of like, well, that's a bass guitar. However, bass guitar by definition is going through an amplifier, which is, we all think bass guitar goes into amplifier, but that is still an electronic effect. Or at least it's an electronic filter for something to go through. So yeah, the snare is the cleanest and most direct thing in the entire song, and that just means it has this constant, very cutting vibe. It really gets through to you, which makes it super effective when we get that moment later on, which really occurs a few times, where you get the dropped snare. The snare, which usually appears on the, as you'd expect, on the second and fourth beat, just suddenly then disappears, and it's just like off, and it appears a bit late. I just like the fact you've got that delayed snare there, which is appearing off beat. Simple technique, but when you're centering the song so much around that, really noticeable, really adds a nice kind of skipping vibe to the song. The bass, as I say, massive part of it as well, very much prominent. So what happens in the rest of the song? Well, the rest of the song continues what appears to have been the statement of intent from the first two tracks, and that it is this very affected, high production, quite compressed but distorted and playfully engineered just wall of sounds. There are just so many sounds occurring here in this big, thick, almost, I want to say mess, but it's a very engineered kind of mess. It's supposed to sound like a wall of sound. It's supposed to grab you as this one big effect of all of the things going in. And so, yeah, you get guitars, you get the distorted vocals, you get all of these sort of pitching effects and funny like flanges and modulation. This is all happening in this big wall of sound that rides atop the drums and bass that are allowed to cut through so clearly. This is a song, though, where it works. It works because you have that strong underpinning of the rhythm section. It just means the rest of the song can be crazy like that. Now, this obviously leads us on to the net question of, okay, it's really effective, but is this a song I would regularly come back to on its own? I do think that it is very much a groove more than a song. It has its moments. It has that switches up where you get the breakdown in the second verse, where again you use that strong modulation and everything to get that sound where it goes in down and then it goes in, that sound. You got those things, but I would say that the song, one thing it does lack, and I think by intent, it lacks a strong sense of direction. We don't really have, we do have changes. We have like the chorus where the second vocal comes in and stuff, but ultimately it's not a song that's really going towards any big choruses or payoffs or crescendos. It just kind of grooves along, and for me that makes it very enjoyable as an album track, but not the sort of song I would really seek out on its own. It belongs in a journey. It's part of a longer groove. You could say this is actually quite true for the first two songs on the album as well. They do have sections, especially Bathroom actually, but the songs basically are built around grooves with variations built into them, and this feels like it carries that on. Now, this is interesting because obviously the next song is Gips. Now, I would normally skip over Gips. However, I've had a lot of comments telling me the album version is very different, so I'm not going to be listening to this version, but I will go find the album version. I'm going to seek that out maybe on Spotify, and I'll do that for the next reaction. If there's enough for me to say about it, if I do actually feel it's different enough, I'll do a reaction about that. If I feel it's quite similar, then rather than just farming views, I might go straight to the next song and let you know that that was my conclusion. But yeah, I'm going to have a little listen to the album version before just skipping over Gips and see if it is different enough to warrant its own reaction. Well, I'll start recording a reaction and then you'll know I thought it was worth uploading if I upload it. This song, however, very effective, really enjoyed it. Definitely an album track kind of song, but really enjoyed it. Again, I do think that this album seems to be referencing a lot of sounds that were quite prominent in the mid to late 90s in the UK scene. And given that Sheena Ringo later in her career has been very inspired seemingly by French jazz, I believe, I do wonder whether her ear was towards the European pop rock scene at the time, because she's grabbing a lot of this sonic trends that were very popular there. And, did also become very popular in Japan a few years later, around about the time she's doing this. The one thing that is quite interesting is the undercurrent beneath all of these songs is this very, I feel like it's like a 70s Before I'm Born, so that's my guess, 70s kind of blues rock vibe. A lot of the songs, when stripped down so far, feel like they could definitely be in like a 70s cop chase movie. They kind of got that dirty, kind of funky vibe, but at the same time, a bit of attitude, a little bit of pace, a little bit of energy. Yeah, I like it. I like the vibe this album's going for, and I like the fact that the album has got a consistent vibe despite all of the ideas that are being thrown at the wall. It's definitely very much of an intriguing sound, and I think a lot of my thoughts about the sound of this album are really only going to be possible to correctly word when I get to the end of the album and I see it in the full perspective of what it is. But right now, it's certainly an intriguing page turner that has me excited to check out each next song. And that's what we're going to do. Might be Gipp's album version next or not. You'll know when I upload it. But until I do, thank you so much for tuning in. Leave your thoughts at the bottom, as always, in the comments. And until next time, for now, ciao, ciao.